Good evening, everyone. You all warmly welcome for the last session of this course, counseling skills. Actually, we have started defining what is meant by counseling. So therefore, today we'll be discussing the basic counseling skills required for a successful counselor. And as well as we'll be discussing simply we'll try to describe the process of counseling, as well as we'll be discussing what kind of skills are essential for a counselor, as well as what makes a good counselor as well, and why the counseling skills are important in the counseling process, and what kind of careers could benefit from counseling skills will be discussed at the end of this session. Basically, I would like to remind you again, today is the 15th lesson, counseling skills. Today is the last lesson of this course. Almost we have completed 15 sessions. So let's discuss what is meant by counseling, why it is important, what kind of skills are very essential for the counseling process, and how the counseling skills are important for different career in counseling. Okay. This is the intended learning outcome, my dear students. Initially, you should be able to explain what is counseling and discuss the different forms of counseling. You already know what is meant by counseling. We have discussed in the previous session as well. But as a starting point, I would like to give a very brief introduction about counseling, and then the different forms of counseling. And as well as I will very briefly explain the process of counseling as well. Then there will be discussed the co-counseling skills, and I will be showing you some videos to make your memory much more stronger, and explain what makes a good counselor, and then explain why counseling skills are essential in the counseling process, and discuss how we can improve counseling skill, because basically we know if it is a skill, definitely we can improve that skill. We can improve it. So how we can improve these counseling skills will be discussed, as well as what careers could benefit from counseling skills. So there are so many careers we can see in this world, but basically which career, that means what other careers could benefit from these counseling skills will be discussed. So let's say if you are dreaming to be be a part of a profession, then actually you need counseling. Actually, counseling is a skill, and basically you require an ability for that as well. Let's say even though I'm a person, even though I'm a lecturer in the university, but I cannot be a counselor if I don't have such qualities, such abilities, such skills with me. So definitely to be a counselor, that person should be a very extrovert people, should be able to have a very good relationship with the others. So how we can help other people to get rid of their burden. So basically counseling is focusing on not giving advices, but help the client or the person who came near to you to get your assistance, and simply enhance the self-awareness of him, and collaboratively draw a plan and help that person to give a solution for his or her problem. So counseling is not to fix it, not to fix quick solutions, not to advise, but try to help the client to understand where he is standing right now, and try to enhance the awareness of the issue with the support of her, and then after help her to draw a very good solution for his or her problem. Okay, let's start this process. Yeah, counseling. So simply the counseling when we are talking about professional counseling, like let's say professional mean there is a systematic order, there is a hierarchy, there is a very proper way of conducting. So like let's say if you have an issue, you can go near to a person who is not professionally sound, but anyhow when you go near to a professional person, professional counselor, that person can help you in a very strong manner. Actually, I believe you can remember when I have shown you a video in lesson number 14 under introduction to counseling, and the discussion which had in between that counselor and Devika in that story. It's a professional counseling. That counselor is a professional counselor, and I can remember one time she said, "Mama, ඔබගේ රහස්‍යභාවය හා පෞද්ගලිකත්වය ආරක්ෂා කරන්න වෘත්තියෙන් බැඳී සිටිනවා" කියලා කියනවා. So it's a profession. So therefore, professionally they learned the important they learned this subject counseling, and they have practiced already. So therefore, they strongly know that they should demonstrate ethical behavior throughout this process. So in building relationship with individuals, simply professional counseling try to have a relationship with individual that empower. Empower mean like we try to empower the in here empower client. We try to empower the client through self-awareness, them to accomplish mental health and wellness and education. Mental health, because we basically counselor try to give the mental health of the person. Not only that, should try to provide the education, proper understanding of the issue, and the career goal. Let's say now sometimes career goal mean like in terms like let's say some people are facing job issues. So therefore, in that aspect, definitely we should help that person to sort out their career goal. In here, not only career goals, like you can insert the word goal, either career and personal goals. Okay. So when we talk about that Devika story, actually she doesn't have career goal. She has a personal goal. She has a personal goal. What? To spend a good life with her husband and adopting a child. Okay, it is a collaborative process. Actually, it's not this counseling is not a one person game. It's a collaborative effort of a collaborative relationship in between counselor as well as the client. So basically, please underline the very cool words of this definition. Like it's like a building relationship, and empower. Empower with what? Empower with empower client with what? Empower client with mental health and wellness. Mental health and wellness. මානසික සුවය සහ අධ්‍යාපනය. And highlight mental health, wellness, education, personal and career goal. Personal and career goal. It's a collaborative, and highlight the word called collaborative. It's a very collective relationship between these two parties. So when we are talking about actually there are different forms of counseling. Like individual counseling is the most important type that focuses on an individual growth and mental health. Like let's say if one-to-one counseling happens, like the very good example in between that counselor and Devika, it's individual counseling because one-to-one counseling. But there are some instances, actually in the introduction I have told you, like maybe like group counseling, marriage counseling, family counseling. So in that case, not one-to-one, it's a one-to-many. Sometimes let's say if if they have invited, when we talk about family counseling, sometimes we have been invited husband and wife as well as children for the discussion. So therefore, in that case, one-to-many mean the family, there are like four people. So therefore, one-to-many counseling can be happen. One-to-one counseling can be happen. So that's why if it is a one-to-one, it's an individual counseling. A very good example, Devika's story. And couples and marriage counseling. Like let's say marriage counseling, sometimes some people may, after they got married, sometimes they faced with different difficulties, different problems in terms of their harmony, in terms of their social relationships, economic relationships, likewise cultural differences. So therefore they thought we have to go near to a counselor. So in that case, that it's called marriage counseling. Actually, we should not hesitate to go and meet counselor, even though when we are facing problems or troubles in our marriage, because the counselors will assist couple in overcoming conflict and working towards a strong relationship. Because After we get married, we should have a very good bond with our husband, with our wife. So therefore, if we feel that our relationship is diluting the some day by day our relationship is getting weaker, then definitely we should get the assistance from the counselor. So in that case, some people may have go and tell to their parents. Sometimes parents are not the appropriate person in this regard. Why? Because when parents are making decisions, sometimes they make they make biased decision. Like let's say when a girl went near to her parents and said her grievance, then in that case, then her parents may be biased for her daughter. So therefore, it's better to go and meet a third party, like very external person for the counseling, as because first you have to ensure whether that particular person will ensure your privacy and confidentiality. If do so, then definitely you have to go to the external party who can help you in this regard. And what I want to tell you is you should not be shy, you should not be upset in this aspect, because it's really necessary. Next one is family counseling. So when we talk about family counseling, it involves different familial dynamics and how they affect the family structure. Sometimes a father may not uh, doing her job well, not doing his responsibility towards the family, and sometimes as a mom is not responsible. Sometimes children are not pay attention for the education as expected by the parents. Sometimes there is no proper connection between children and parents. So likewise, in order to sort out the familial dynamics and family-oriented issues, actually it affects the family structure. That means the respect and the dignity, as well as love and caring. If you feel that the love, caring, and the unity and harmonious relationship in between the family members is day by day getting weaker, then definitely you have to get the support from the family counseling. That is necessary. But family counseling is required when your children are involved with that issue. But if you feel that you and your husband or you and your wife is is missing day by day, or the relationship between both of them are diluting, then you have to go for the marriage counseling. But if you feel that all members of your family, including your children, and sometimes you may be stay with your parents, so in that case you should get the support from family counselors. They are expert in that area and definitely will help you in this regard. And the other one is group counseling. Group counseling is the use of group interaction and facilitate group. Sometimes in many organizations, it happens like because of this synergy effects, organizations have taken necessary steps to get the support from the group. That means they have appointed groups and they have assigned tasks. So when there are when the supervisor or any other people who are responsible for that group has realized that the particular group is not performing well as expected by the organization, then definitely they will ask the particular group for the counseling process. It's needed. Because when we send for when we go for group counseling, then we will understand as a group where we are lacking, as an individual where we are lacking, because we know group cohesiveness should be already there. That means every member should understand the group goal and to support to achieve those goals ultimately. But as a member of your group, if you feel that you're not doing your best for the betterment of the group, then what will happen? Your group performance will be declined. So therefore, when you go for group counseling, you will understand as an individual where you are lacking, as well as a group where you are lacking. But you should tell the honest, frank opinion, or you should reveal very correct information about the group performance. It's really necessary. It's essential. When you become a counselor, you will likely engage in many types of counseling throughout your therapeutic works. Okay, so let's discuss about the process of counseling. Includes, like, let's say, actually why I shown that video, that Devika's video, before discussing this lesson. I believe when you go for like, let's say, when you go for when I'm teaching these points, you should be able to recall those points. should be able to recall the scenarios where I shared through that video. As well as, let's say, in that Devika story, if Devika's husband came to meet that counselor, then it's coming under marriage counseling. But in the initial session or the first and second session, Devika came along to meet that counsel. Therefore, it's individual counseling. If she comes with her husband, then it's like marriage counseling. Okay. Then the process of counseling includes, let's say, now actually there in many books the different steps of this process have been explained. Okay, basically I thought to share with you only the very basic step of this process. But initially I have told you, my dear students, counseling is not a one-time effort. It will not end like within 2 days, 3 days, exact. According to the gravity of the problem, the lengthiness of the process will be determined. So therefore, but even though it's a lengthy process, even though it's a very short process, but anyhow, these 6 steps should be there always. Okay, I cordially invite you all to remind that Devika's story. That's why I have told you, please watch this video at least 2 times to absorb the words or emotions and thoughts that they have shared in that video, because it's very important for you to learn about lesson number 14 and 15 together. And initially, the opening process is one of the most essential part of the interaction with your client. It is your chance to get to know your client and for them to get to know you. It is also where you will set the tone for the rest of the therapeutic relation. Simply, I don't know whether you can remember. I believe you can remember. Initially, that counselor, how she greets Devika. Okay, very presentable face was there. Very pleasant mood was with the counselor. The opening, and in what then once she has invited to sit for the discussion, initially she said, "Who is she? Who counseling? Who is she?" She said her name. Then after she said, "I'm a counselor in profession, and I would like to help you." Likewise, a very brief and very small introduction have been provided. Okay, so actually it's like opening for the process, like not to be too rigid, while not to be very professional. That both parties, like especially counselor, try to start the process in a very friendly manner. Okay, it's the opening process. It's a very essential part of the interaction, because that is the place where client will understand whether she can understand my emotion, whether she can help me in this regard. Okay, so the positive or a warm welcome is really required in this process. Why? Because as a counselor, you are going to know her private and confidential information to sort out her issue, or helping her to sort out her issue. And on the other hand, it's a great chance for you to know your client as well. Then again, Devika also will provide a very good, actually, she has given a very clear introduction about her. Like, I don't know whether you can remember, in a screen, the whole story was demonstrated. Like, then we know who is she? What is her need? Where is she right now? Is she really upset? Or is she moderately okay with the situation? So likewise, we can get the initial impression about this issue can be taken at the opening part of this process. The second one is exploring client understanding. So exploration process is where you will begin to understand your client. You will explore their past and evaluate their current concern. So basically, in that process, that counselor ask how you have spent your time with your husband. Were you happy during that time? And what is your current concern? So how do you feel right now? So likewise, and what do you expect? What is your expectation? Then I can remember she said initially, I want to spend a very nice family life with my husband. I am dreaming to have a very good relationship with my husband. Second one is I would like to adopt a child since I'm not physically fit to give birth to a child. And third one is I want to have a very harmonious relationship with my mother-in-law and other family members of my husband's side. So likewise, so when she tried to explain her current concern, then we can explore what is client understanding. Actually, I can remember that counselor said, yes, Devika, I can understand. I feel that you have very good understanding about this situation. මට හිතෙනවා දේවිකා ඔයාට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ගැන හොඳ අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා කියලා. At one time the counselor said like that. So therefore you will explore their past. Their past means client's past information and evaluate their current concern, and not only current, as well as we will evaluate, we will be searching, we will be we will be able to find out their future concern as well. Then based on that, you will establish goals together and set expectations. So once you explore client understanding, then you can build objectives for the discussion. So in that discussion, there were 3 objectives were established. First one is to have very good family life with the husband. Second one is adopt a child, convince that invitation, convince that message to husband in a very methodical manner. Third one is have a very harmonious relationship with the mother-in-law and other family members of the husband's party. So likewise, once we explore the client understanding about the situation, so once we have already understood what was happened, what is happening right now, and what should be happening in the future, then we can establish goals. Basically, as counselor said, set 3 goals. Then we can establish goal, but together with the support of the client. So don't believe that counselor set the goals alone. No, it won't be happen. Counselor set the goal with the support of the client and set expectation. Set expectation mean once we have established goals, then these goals create expectation to the client. Then අපි අරමුණු ස්ථාපිත කරාම එයා කියන්නේ අදාළ client ගේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නය සම්බන්ධයෙන් අතීතයේ වෙච්ච දේවල් වර්තමානයේ සිදුවෙන දේවල් සහ අනාගතයේ විය යුතු දේවල් පිළිබඳව අපි අරමුණු ගොඩනගනවා. ඒ අරමුණු හරහා අපි අපේ client බලාපොරොත්තු එකතු කරනවා. We let some kind of expectation while we are establishing this goal. Then third one is understanding. So important in developing a solid relationship with your client. You can demonstrate understanding by using verbal and nonverbal cues, reflection, and paraphrase. So once you understood the situation, then what you have to do is you be very attentive listening is required. Therefore, you have to understand verbal and nonverbal cues. අපි කියන්නේ අර ඇඟවීම් කියන දේවල්, clues කියන දේවල් අපි වාචික හා අවාචිකව ඔහුගේ client ගෙන් දිස් වෙන ගම්ම්‍ය වෙන දේවල් we should be take into account. Then not only that, once we have understood verbal and nonverbal information, then we have to reflect them in a very proper manner. We'll be discussing. Reflection is a skill. We'll be learning later. Reflect means reflection. That means reflection means using counselor's word, we have to tell what we understood about the issue. Then when we reflect the things, let's say, so then you can ensure the things what you understood is true and accurate. If not, what will happen? Client will adjust. Client will so likewise, basically you can modify your understanding. You can assure whether you have understood their concern properly. Then the other one is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means you have to explain from your words. Don't use the words which used by the clients as it is. A client පාවිච්චි කරපු අතරම ඔබ ඒ විදිහටම කියන්න එපා. නිකන් ගිරවෙක් වගේ නෑ. ඔබ අවබෝධ කරගත්ත කාරණාව කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් විදිහට ඔබගේ වචනෙන් reflect කරන්න to the client. Then client will certify yes, it's correct. This is the thing what I have already told you. Then understanding the verbal and nonverbal, and reflection and paraphrasing is very, very important. Then intervention. Intervention means the intervention process is not about choosing the appropriate counseling technique to encourage growth within your client. So you have to, let's say, I believe you can remember in that Devika story, that counselor intervened into the process. Let's try to establish 3 objectives. Then for these 3 objectives, let's try to have a plan, separate plan for these 3 objectives. later. අපි අරමුණු තුනක් හදාගමු. ඒ තුනට අනුබද්ධ වෙන සැලසුම් තුනක් අපි හදාගමු. මේ අරමුණු තුන කොහොමද අපි achieve කරන්නේ කියලා. So that's called intervention. You have to intervene in between the problem and the client to sort out this issue. Sort out mean with the support of the client, you should help client to meet that goals through a proper planning system. So intervene වෙනවා කියන පුතේ මැදිහත් වෙනවා කියන අදහස. ඒතර ඔබ client ගේ සහ ප්‍රශ්නේ මැද්දට යන්නට ඕනේ. මැද්දට ගිහින් ඉවරලා what you should do, you should intervene and you should think. First you should set the goals, then after you should drawing plans for these objectives separately. It's really required. And then you have to encourage growth with the client. Like, let's say you have to encourage that person to give a very good solution. So, okay, that means you should encourage client to give a very good idea for the planning process. It's essential. Then exploring problem. So once you have set goals, once you have encourage your client to give idea for the process more and more, then you have to explore. In here, when we use the word called exploring, it's somewhat very, very severe word. Severe means deep word. Explore කරනවා කියන්නේ පුතේ ගවේෂණය කරනවා. ගවේෂණය කරනවා කියන්නේ ප්‍රශ්නයේ ගැඹුරට කිඳා බැහැලා ඒකේ යථාර්ථය තේරුම් ගන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. It's called exploring the problem. Okay, so actually it's not, we are not trying to get the mere idea about the problem, but we try to explore the problem in a very deep manner. අපි කියන්නේ අර හැම ඇස්සක් මුල්ලක්ටම ගිහිල්ලා ඉවරලා ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ යථාර්ථය හොයාගන්න කිඳා බහලා කටයුතු කරනවා කියන්නේ. So once you have set goals, once you have thought, actually exploring problem happens before planning. Please do remember, okay? So once you have understand the verbal and non-verbal information of this issue, then you have to intervene. For what? Intervene to choose the appropriate counseling technique. So that means you have to, you should select which kind of techniques that you are going to use. Okay? Then after, you have to explore the problem in a very deep manner. You have to choose an appropriate counseling techniques. Then you have to encourage, explore the problem in a very deep manner. So exploration is learning more about your client and why they have to come counseling. Okay. An exploration is necessary to understand client's thoughts and feeling concerning their pressing problem. Like, let's say, when you try to understand the problem, you should understand client's thoughts, feeling, emotion, behavior, all systematically. So actually the client's information is the only source where available for you to explore the problem. Sometimes you can invite, like, let's say if client wish to connect with other parties, like if Devika said, Devika said what she said, I like to invite my husband to join with this counseling, but I don't know whether he will reject it. But let's say if Devika said, yes, I can join my husband to this process, then it's like we can understand Devika and Devika's husband thoughts and feeling about this issue. So like, since if client said, I don't like to invite anybody, I don't like to involve with any party for this, I would like to, I do not like to invite anybody for this counseling process, then client is the only person available for you to get information. In that sense, you should be able to get the very right and accurate information, sufficient information from the client in a systematic manner to explore the problem. But if you can get from other people assistance, like if you can interview Devika's husband, mother-in-laws and other family members, then it's even though it's lengthy process, but sometimes you can get a very representative or a very true picture about this issue. Okay, but anyhow, when you are exploring problem, please try to understand who are the sources for this problem. Like if only client is available, or any apart from the client, are there any other people can support to explore the problem systematically. Then once we have set the goals, once we have noted the verbal and non-verbal cues and information, then after we selected appropriate counseling techniques, like then once we explore the problem, finally, what we have to do is uh, we have to prepare our own plan, prepare a plan, collaborative plan with the support of both parties. Then empower to create own solution. Then you should, before drawing the plan, you should clearly tell where to the client where you are strong, where you are lacking. Then you should empower with self-awareness, wellness, education. Empowering your client is more than providing all the answers. And you should empower. You should tell you are the decision maker of this process. You can make decision. You know who you are right now. You know where you are weak, where you were weak in that problem. It is about empowering them with your counseling skill to find their solution. Find their solution. You should not provide solution. You should help your client to find their solution. But you should empower. How you can empower? You should clearly demonstrate where they strong, where they weak. Okay. Then developing practical counseling skills may benefit a range of professional career. They help, like let's say, they help build in trust, establish rapport, and promote active listening to ensure that people feel heard and understood. Okay, but anyhow, these 6 steps are really important. Other than these six steps, there may be many more sub-steps are there. But anyhow, opening, exploring client understanding, and then understanding, then intervention, exploring problem, and empower to create own solutions are much more important. Actually, when we are discussing about the core counseling skills, actually there are many more counseling skills have been already listed in many books, in many in many educational sources. But anyhow, these are the core counseling skills, like attending. Attending mean like attention towards the client is very important. Use of silence. නිහඬ වීම කියන කාරණා. Reflecting and paraphrasing, as I told you, once you have noted like verbal and unverbal information, then you have to reflect from your own words and then paraphrasing. You have to reflect what you have understood. But when do paraphrasing, paraphrasing means you explain from your words. එයා කියපු වචන වලින්ම නෙමෙයි ඔයාගේ වචන වලින් ඔයා තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ කියනවා නම් counselor කෙනෙක් විදිහට to the client, it's called paraphrase. So reflection should be happen. That in that Devika story, counselors time to time reflecting. ඔයා කියපු විදිහට මම තේරුම් ගත්තේ මේකයි. මේක නේද කියන්නේ? ආදි වශයෙන් she's asking. And clarifying and use of the question. Like let's say not in the Devika's video, the previous video I have shown what are the necessary characteristic required for a successful counseling session. In that speaker, that lady speaker said we have discussed 11 characteristics needed for a successful counseling program. In that she said, like always we have to ask open-ended question. Not to ask, no, we should not use the word called why. why කියන වචනේ use කරන්න එපා. But විවෘත ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න කිව්වා. What do you think about that issue? ඔයා මොනවද ඒ ගැන හිතන්නේ? ඔයාට කොහොමද ඒක දැනුනේ? So likewise, the issue in order to clarify the issue, clarify the problem, you should ask open-ended question, not closed-ended. Closed-ended කියන්නේ ඔයා කරාද? කළා නැහැ. Those are closed. අපි කියන ආවෘත ප්‍රශ්න නෙමෙයි විවෘත ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ. So ඔබ මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ පිළිබඳව යම්කිසි තව පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? So it's like open-ended. You can get many more information. Then focusing. Your attention is really important throughout the process. Sometimes you may answering your phone calls. Sometimes you may touching your nails. No, it won't be happen. It should not be. Because if client feel that you are not focused in her concern, from next day onwards, she will not come to you, as well as in the same day, she is not revealing the correct information to you. Because if she feel that this is not a right person for me to help, she will not reveal the information to you in an accurate manner. So always, in order to maintain the trust in between you and your client, always a proper focus. That means attention, focus on verbal and unverbal cues or clues are really important for you. And building rapport. Building rapport means when you're watching that Devika's video, I have shown you that practically how the counseling session is happening. And how you can see in the second session, there is a nice rapport between when we enter into the second session of Devika, and it has a very nice rapport. The second day, both faces are very inspiring. Especially Devika's face is very inspiring. She's very inspiring and she is very happy. Why? Because in the first session, counselor had a very good rapport with the client. Then now from second day onwards, Devika come to the session in a very positive mindset. Then genuineness. Genuineness means as a client should not, as a client or as a counselor, both parties should be honest always. If you cannot understand, if you cannot help, you should tell it in a genuine manner. Okay, genuineness is really important, especially from clients' end. Client should reveal very genuine information. Frank opinion, frank ideas, frank feeling, frank emotions should be provided. Genuine when that අපි counseling වලටම අපි මේ ප්‍රශ්නය හරියට කියන්නේ නැත්නම් ඇත්ත තොරතුරු reveal කරන්නේ නැත්නම් what will happen? We are wasting our time and counselor's time as well. ඔබට ඔබගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ එකයි කියන්නේ පිටස්තර පුද්ගලයෙක් ළඟට යන්න කියන. Then you can reveal your private and confidential information, especially a professional person. Professional person will secure your private and confidential information. It does not mean that if you go to a not professionally qualified person, that person cannot help you. No, you can. That person can help you. But when you go near to a professional person, then professionally she is bound to help you. It's her profession. And unconditional positive regards. අපි කියන්නේ කොන්දේසි විරහිත වේ පුද්ගලයාව පිළිගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ පුද්ගලයා කියන්නේ client. Sometimes she may commit with suicide. Sometimes she may have another affair even though her husband is very supportive. අනියම් සම්බන්ධතාවයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. සමහරවිට එයා දරුවන්ට හරිම sarcastic විදිහට ගහන parent කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. But you have to accept that person as it is. Why? Because in order to explore the problem in a very deep manner, you have to go with this unconditional positive regard. කොන්දේසි විරහිතව පිළිගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ client ඇති setting ඔබ පිළිගන්නට කටයුතු කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. It is must required. Okay, you should not judge because when we are discussing that 11 characteristics required for a successful counseling process, we learned we should not judge anybody. We should not come to the conclusion. We should not jump to the conclusion in the counseling process. So therefore, unconditional positive regards is really important. And counselor self-disclosure. Always counselor should be should be genuine and disclose of who is she, and should be a very from let's say from counselor's aspect also, she should disclose her potentiality always. And listening. In here, listening is somewhat very important. When I'm discussing with these skills, I will let you know. And finally, summarizing is important. I think you can remember at the end of the first session of Devika, in that incident, nicely counselor summarized what she has discussed in the counseling process with the support of the Devika. Summarizing is important because summarizing is a starting point for the next session. අපි උනත් දෙයක් පුතේ කවද දෙයක් කතා කරද්දී අද මේකේ සාරාංශය මේකයි කියලා we should be able to discuss. Then attending. Attending is the first counseling micro skill a trainee counselor learn. Forming the basic of all other counseling skills. අනිත් හැම උපදේශන කුසලතාවයකටම foundation එක වෙන්නේ අපි ගොඩක් වෙලට කියන්නේ attending කියන දේ. අවධානය කියන දේ. So attending කියලා කියන්නේ so you have to very nicely focusing to your client. But you should not be biased. You should not be very emotional. But you should be very professional and you have to focus. So following is the ability to physically present for the client. Again, අපි කියන්නේ physically ඔබ ශරීරයෙන් වගේම මනසෙනුත් ඔබ ඉන්න ඕනේ clients ළඟ. It means giving them your undivided attention. කාටවත් අවධානය බෙදන්න බෑ. එතනදී husband call එකම husband ට අවධානය බෙදන්න බෑ. You have to divide your full attention to the client. And making appropriate eye contacts. Then mirroring body language of the client. Client body language එක හොඳට observe කරනවා, eye contacts තියාගන්නවා, and nodding head කියලා කියන ඔළුව වලනවා. There are some instances where you have to nod the head. Counselors in that way, Devika told she done it. Because when nodding head will reveal that you are listening to her, you are listening to him and accepting what she is telling, or not accepting, like nodding what she is telling. This attending behavior show your client that you are care for him. When referring to attending the practice of counseling, it encompasses the following tactics. Eye contacts. So focusing on an individual client shows that counselor is engaged with what is being communicated and that patient has their undivided attention. So simply this eye contact show you that counselor pay undivided attention to her. So keeping eye contact organic and natural rather than staring intently is essential. Some people try to create eye contact intentional, not like purpose, like in a very hard manner. It won't be happening. අපට eye contacts තියාගෙන ඉන්න විදිහත් අපිට තේරෙනවා මෙයා අපිට focus කරනවද නැද්ද කියලා. ඒක හරිය relax mode එකේ you have to maintain the eye contacts. නිකන් වයර් වෙලා ඇස් දෙක ලුහු කරගෙන බලන වඩා you have to maintain eye contacts in a very natural manner. Then body language and gestures. Whose body language? In here, body language means as a counselor ensuring that your body language remain open and approachable. So simply the body language of and gesture of, especially in here, all these eye contacts, body language, facial expression, tone of voice, all are not clients. All are counselors. Counselors eye contact, counselors body language, counselors facial expression, counselors tone of voice. In here, counselors body language and gestures mean that you have to ensure that your body language remain open and approachable to the client. ඔබගේ ඔබ ශරීරයේ සැහැල්ලුව තියාගෙන ඉන්නකොට එතන දැනෙන්න ඕනේ ඔබගේ client ඔබ විවෘතව කතා කරන්න කැමති කෙනෙක්. ඔබ විවෘතව සහ ඔබට ඕන වෙලාවක approach කරන්න පුළුවන් යාට. ඒ කියන්නේ approach කරනකොට ළඟට එන්න පුළුවන් කියලා නෙමෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම සැරපරුෂ ගතියකින් තොරව සැහැල්ලුවෙන් තමයි ඔබ කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් විදිහට ඉන්නේ. So sitting with crossed arm or shifting. අපි කියන්නේ අත් මෙහෙම බැඳගෙන ඉන්නවා කියන එක it's not appropriate. Okay, you should not cross your arm, and shifting restly can give the impression of අපි කියන ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අර අත් බැඳ ගන්න නැතුව අත් දෙක හරි සැහැල්ලුවෙන් තියාගෙන ඉන්න. Embarrassing a relaxed posture and sitting slightly toward අපි කතා කරා when we discussing 11 characteristics required for a counseling process, we said we have to sit like seating arrangement should be L shaped. එතනදී අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට we have to sitting slightly forward කියලා කියන්නේ L shape, not direct forward. කෙලිම මූණට මූණ ඉඳ ගන්න නැහැ counselor client කෙනෙක්. පොඩ්ඩක් L shape එකේ මේ පැත්තට හැරිලා තමයි අපි බලන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට. So therefore embarrassing a relaxed posture, always go with relaxed posture, and L shape පැත්තකින් පස්සකින් තමයි client අපි තියාගන්නේ. And sitting slightly forward when a client speaks shows and actively listen what they say during the session. Then facial expression. Facial expression of the counselor. Your facial expression will speak volumes as you listen to your client. කොතරම් දුරට ඔබට අහුම්කම් දෙනවද කියලා ඔබගේ facial expression. When you observe that counselor in that Devika's tone, even though she's very pleasant looking, her facial expression is very pleasant. Sometimes she's smiling, sometimes she is very focusing, sometimes she's very serious. That's her facial expression. Okay, an understanding smile at appropriate time. Because you have to select the time where you should smile. හැමතිස්සෙම hina වෙන්නේ නැහැ. hina වෙන්න ඕන තැන් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම you have to understand where you should smile. And not only that, there are some instances where you have pursing your lips. ඒ කියන්නේ සමහරට පොල් වල ස්වභාවය, ඒ වගේම මේ eyebrows වල මේ eyebrows ඉස්සෙන ගතියක් එන්න පුළුවන් සමහරලාට විශ්මයට වගේ පාතුලම්. we have demonstrate that kind of things according to the response of the client. ඒ කිසිම දෙයක් නොකර මෙහෙම බලන් ඉන්න බෑ. So according to the response of the client, according to the information what client is providing, your facial expression should be changed. Why? Because in order to build a good relationship with the client, and when client feel that yes, she's very attentive for my discussion, then what will happen? She will disclose true and accurate information to you. So your facial expression also matter in the as a counselor. Your facial expression also matter in that discussion. Then your tone of voice. There are some instances where you have to loud your voice. There are some instances where you have to reduce your voice. So in here, sometimes it is not what a counselor say, but how they say is important, which may impact the client's comfort level during the counseling. So when a counselor responds with question to clarify a client's thoughts or better understand their feeling, like let's say it's essential to be thoughtful and clear in words. So when you are using word as a counselor, your word should be very clear, and the words that you are using should be very, very appropriate for the discussion. And avoid confusion. Double meaning වචන කියන්න හොඳ නැහැ, miscommunication වෙන වචන හොඳ නැහැ. The words what you are using as well as the tone of the voice, loud of the voice also really matter. කියන වචනවල පැහැදිලිභාවය සහ ඒ වචනවල උච්චාරණය කරනකොට තියෙන පැහැදිලිභාවය වගේම එහි තියෙන හඬත් matter වෙනවා to show your confidence over the client. So therefore, in here again, I would like to remind you, my dear student, in here, attending should be happen from counselors in. Therefore, we are discussing here eye contact of the counselor, body language and gestures of the counselor, facial expressions of the counselor, and tone of the voice of the counselor. Second one is use of silence. It's really important. Use of silence. නිහඬ වීම කියනදී. So silence can be very important part, and encouraging patient, like let's say sometime if they come for the medical treatment, that's why I have used the word called patient. But let's use the word called client. When we try to encourage our client to control the dialogue and determine the pace, a flow of feeling and direction of thoughts can assist in building and trusting supportive relationships. So therefore, you have to, in order to show very supportive relationships, there are some instances where you have to keep your silence. Okay. So therefore, using silence as a counseling skill is also essential for the counselor, as well as providing validation to patients or client. Silence offer what? Silence offer an opportunity for counselor to thoughtfully consider what has been communicated and how to respond the viewed and in a constructive way. This is a very important sentence. Silence offer an opportunity to counselor, not the client, to thoughtfully consider. So in here, thoughtfully consider means focus on the information sharing by the client in a very strong manner. අපිට client කියන දෙයට හරියටම හොඳින් අහුම්කම් දෙන්න අපි counselor maintain කරන නිහඬියාව හරි වටිනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි නිහඬව දෙයක් අහනකොට අපිට අනිත් කෙනා කියන දේ හොඳට පැහැදිලි වැහෙනවා. And what has been communicated and how to respond. Not only that. කියන දේ හොඳින් අවබෝධ කරගෙන ඒ අනුව දක්විය යුතු ප්‍රතිචාරය පිළිබඳ අවබෝධයක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. Whether I should be give some kind of my counter arguments, or whether I should maintain silence further. මොකද්ද මගේ ප්‍රතිචාරය? කවුන්සලර්ගේ ප්‍රතිචාරය මොකද්ද කියලා තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් නිහඬව අහන් ඉද්දි. More and respond in the more viewed and constructive way. කියන්නේ ඔහු ඇව ගොඩනැගීමේ අරමුණින් ලබා දෙන response එක ප්‍රතිචාරය පිළිබඳ තීරණයකුත් ගන්න පුළුවන් අපි නිහඬ වීම තුළ. ඒක කියන්නේ රටට නිහඬ වීම තුළ අපිට වාසි ගොඩක් අත්පත් කර ගන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් කෙනා කියන්නේ මොනවද කියලා අවබෝධ කර ගන්න පුළුවන්. It is the first. Second one is we can decide how we should respond to that person in a very constructive manner. Then third characteristic is reflecting and paraphrasing. So reflecting and paraphrasing mean, I have told you before, in a reflecting mean like time to time we have to reflect as a counselor what we understood from the client. And then after, when we try to reflect it, we should paraphrase. That means we should tell by our words. That means we should tell our words. In here, reflection mean as used in counseling to accurately describe the client's state from their verbal and nonverbal cues. And like, let's say feeling reflection allow client to hear the feeling have they just expressed. Sometimes you have to look for a descriptive sense in a client's statement. It can also be helpful to look at client's nonverbal feeling cues. So basically feeling reflection කියලා කියන්නේ counselor කියන මට ඔයාට දුකින් ඉන්න කියන එක මට තේරෙනවා මම හරි වැරදිද. It's like feeling reflection. ඔයා ඒ දේ කිව්වේ සතුටින් කියන එක මට දැනුණා. මම තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ හරියි. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි client ගේ feeling reflect කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා අපි තේරුම් ගත්ත විදියට. Okay? Then restating and paraphrasing. As I told you earlier, from your words, from counselor's word, we have to tell what he or she understood from the client's statements. Then affirmation. Affirmation means it's a form of encouragement to affirm behavior or life choices. Affirmation is essential for empowering client. So, අපි කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට destructive විදිහට අපි ආව මේ ධෛර්යමත් කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා පැරාෆ්‍රේස් කරනකොට. දැන් අපි පැරාෆ්‍රේස් ඔයා කියපු දේ ඔයා කිව්වේ ඒ වෙලාවේදී ඔයා ආසයි දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න කියලා. මං කියපු දේ හරි නේද? It's like paraphrasing. Reflection. Then affirmation කියලා කියන්නේ empowering client. A few everyday affirmation includes confirming a client progress. මට තේරෙනවා දැන් එතනදී කියනවා ඒ කවුන්සලර් කෙනා මට තේරෙනවා දැන් ඔයාලට ප්‍රශ්නය පිළිබඳ හොඳ අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා කියලා. ඔයා මේ ප්‍රශ්නය පිළිබඳ හරි සාධාරණව බලනවා කියලා. It's affirmation. We try to empower client. So like we try to confirm client's progress. අපි දැන් ඔයා මුලින්ම ආපු විදිහට නෙමෙයි දැන් කතා කරන්නේ. දැන් ඔයාලට ප්‍රශ්නය පිළිබඳ හොඳ අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා. We try to confirm client's progress. අපි කියනවා අපි client convince කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා දැන් කලින්ට වඩා ගොඩක් දියුණු වෙලා මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ හිතන දේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්. We try to empower client towards what? Towards a goal and encouraging them to do what is necessary. ඒගොල්ලන්ට අවශ්‍ය කරන අරමුණු වලට යන්නට ඒගොල්ලන්ව ධෛර්යමත් කරනවා. So it should be happen throughout the paraphrasing process as well. අපි නිකන් එයා කියන්නේ ඔයා කිව්වේ මේකයි. ඒ මං හරි නේද කියනට වඩා ඒ දේ කියන ගමන් අපි ආව වරින් වර ධෛර්යමත් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයා කලින්ට වඩා දැන් progress එකක් තියෙනවා. මං ඉතින් නිසා ඔයාගේ අවශ්‍ය කරන අරමුණු වලට යන්න ඔයාලට දැන් හැකියාව ක්‍රමක්‍රමයෙන් ලැබෙනවා කියන කාරණාව while we are paraphrasing we have to do as a counselor time to time. Okay. Next one is clarifying and the use of question. So clarification and questioning are considered basic counseling skills when referred to counseling. So basically using open-ended question, it is very much important, my dear student. Using open-ended questions may help professional counselor to build greater trust with client. And further, they are professional, like what? To build greater trust with the client. And further, their professional relationship throughout the counseling journey. So open-ended, don't ask why type of question. So when we are discussing the 11 characteristics, we clearly identify, don't ask why type of question or ask always open-ended. And so when you watch that video, that Devika's, that practical counseling session video, you may understood that time to time, like counselor ask open-ended question, like ඔයා මොනවද මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඒ විදිහට දකින්නේ? ඔයා හිතනවාද හස්බන්ඩ් දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න කැමති වෙයි කියලා. ආදී වශයෙන් වෙයි කියලා. ඒතර එයාගේ අදහස මොන වගේ වෙයිද? ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඔබ යෝජනා කරොත් දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න කියලා. So likewise, in order to have a very good trust between client and you, ask open-ended question. And questions are helpful in the therapeutic environment because they allow you to learn more about the client. So basically from questioning, you can explore the problem very correctly. And not only building the trust, on the other hand, questions are really required for exploring the problem. The type of question you ask will set the tone of the session and the entire counseling process. So simply, questions occur in two forms. First one is open-ended and close-ended. Close-ended means you ask question what can be answered yes or no. As an example, in Devika's case, do you believe that your husband would like to adopt a child? Or විශ්වාස කරනවද ඔයාගේ husband දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න කැමති වෙයි කියලා? Devika's answer may be yes or no. ඔයා විශ්වාස කරනවද ඔයාගේ නැන්දම්මා දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්නට කැමති වෙයි කියලා? Answer may be no. හැබැයි එතනින් අපිට හරීම ප්‍රශ්නය පිළිබඳ උත්තරයක් හොයාගන්න බෑ. But when you ask like open-ended question, ඔයා දැන් දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න ඔයා කැමති. ඒත් ඔයාගේ husband උත් මේ අදහස ඔබ ඉදිරිපත් කරොත් එයා මොන වගේ හිතාවිද? මේ ඔබගේ අදහස ගැන. It's like open-ended question. එයා හිතන විදිය හිතනවා. එයා කලින් ඒ වගේ දෙයක් දැකීමක් නැති වුණත් මේ වගේ එදින සාකච්ඡා කරලා මීට වඩා ගැඹුරු ප්‍රශ්නයකට කතා කරලා තියෙනවා. උත්තර හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා. So likewise, she may provide other background information when you ask open-ended question. The same thing what you want to clarify, ask in a two-way. First one, ඔයාගේ husband කැමති වෙයිද දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න? Yes or no? It is the කාරණාව. and ඔබ යෝජනා මේ same thing. ඔබගේ husband දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගමු කියලා යෝජනා කරොත් if you suggest your husband to adopt a child, So what do you so can you explain what he may think about this proposal? So like it's an open-ended question. Free answer can be given in the open-ended question, but for the closed-ended question, you cannot give a free answer. Very direct answer you should be provided, either yes or no. But if you want to explore the problem in a very deep manner, you definitely have to ask more open-ended question. It does not mean that you cannot ask even a single closed-ended question. You can. But when we compare the frequency, it's better to go with like many more open-ended question. And if you want to need very quick answer, you can ask closed-ended question. But in the counseling process, most of the scholars have suggested it's better to ask open-ended than closed-ended. Why? Because to explore the problem in a very deep manner. On the other hand, when you ask open-ended question, it provides freedom for the client to answer the question. උදේ මතක තියාගන්න පුතේ විවෘත ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇහම ක්ලයන්ට් කෙනෙක්ගෙන් එයාට ලොකු නිදහසක් ලැබෙනවා නිදහසේ උත්තරේ දෙන්න. But when somebody asks closed-ended question, the only solution is yes or no. එතන යාව හිර කිරීමක් කරනවා එතනදී. සමහරට එයාට නැහැ කියන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ, ඔව් කියන්න ඕනෙත් නැහැ. If she wants to give another totally different answer, but she can't since the type that you have asked is very direct forward. So therefore, as in the counseling session, it's better to ask open-ended question. So yeah, then focusing. When we try to focus in, for like, so next one is when working with clients in counseling and psychotherapy, like it is essential to utilize focusing techniques. Like simply, you have to focus on core issues of concern and ensure discussions are brought back to the pertinent challenge that the client want to work together. Like always, you have to focus on the client's needs and requirements, words, facial expression, exact. And building rapport, no need to explain, it can be understand. From the opening point onwards, opening, then after, when we try to explore the problem, when we try to paraphrase, at each and every step of the process, building rapport is important. So you can building relationship in between client and counseling won't happen overnight. So when you clearly watch that Devika's video, you can see at the initial stage, there is no rapport, there is no connection between Devika, and Devika is not trusting counselor. But later on, when counselor is counselor is highly focusing on Devika's needs. Not only that, when Devika felt that her needs are clearly identified by the counselor, then the rapport, the building is systematically building. Okay, so building rapport with client is really hard because in order to have a successful counseling process session, the trust between client and counselor is very much important. If there is no trust in between client and counselor, you cannot expect the rapport. Then genuineness. Genuineness means being genuinely in creating congruence between yourself and your word. හැමතිස්සෙම counselor කෙනෙක් විදිහට ඔබ කියන වචන ඔබ භාවිතා කරන වචන ඒ වගේම ඔබගේ ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිය ජෙනුයින් වෙන්න ඕනේ නියම වෙන්න ඕනේ හරියම ඇත්ත වෙන්න ඕනේ රඟපාන්න බෑ එතන බොරුවට ඇත්ත සැටියෙන් දැකලා කතා කරන්න ඕනේ. Every therapist different and will provide an additional like it is essential to remain genuine in all counseling techniques and verbal and non-verbal cues. අපි කියන කරන හැම දෙයකින්ම අපි සත්‍යවාදී අව්‍යාජ අපි කියන genuineness කියන අව්‍යාජ වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. And unconditional positive regards. Demonstrating unconditional positive regard mean like, let's say, you accept your client for who they are. ඔබ ඔබගේ client ව ඉන්න ඇති සැටියෙන් පිළිගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න ඕනේ. Like simply warmth and respect. අපි හැමතිස්සෙම මේ client ගෞරවය දෙන්න ඕනේ. දරුවෙක් නැත්තා අරන් හදාගන්න කැමති නම් අපි ඒ දෙක එයාට ගරු කරන්න ඕනේ. ගැහණියෙක් විදිහට අපි එයාට ගරු කරන්න ඕනේ. අම්මා කෙනෙක් වෙන්න බැරුව ගියා කියලා එයාව පිළිකුලෙන් හෙලා දකින්න හොඳ නැහැ. එයාව ආදරෙන් පිළි අරගෙන එයාගේ need එක satisfy කරගන්න අපි එයාට we have to respect. That's why counselor tell මම ඔයාට ගරු කරනවා. ඔයා ඇත්ත අවබෝධ කර ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මම ඔයාට ගරු කරනවා විශේෂයෙන් දරුවෙක් අරන් හදාගන්න ඔයාගේ කැමැත්ත සම්බන්ධයෙන්. It's like unconditional positive regards. ඔහු ඇත්ත සැටියෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. Then accept your client who they are. Sometimes she may be a widow, sometimes she may be a person who ruined the other person's family life, sometimes she may be committed a crime, etc. Counselor disclosure. Counsel disclosure is that tricky, like a general rule to follow only is to share personal information that benefit to the therapeutic process. Sometimes you have, sometimes you have to reveal your personal information. ඒ කියන්නේ මටත් මේ වගේ සිදුවීමක් වෙලා මගෙත් මේ වගේ වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා කියන. හැබැයි you should not that person to client to put your should not get you should not try to get that client to your side. නමුත් ඔබගේත් සමහර වෙලාවට මටත් මේ වගේ සිදුවීමක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වෙලාවේදී මාත් කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් ළඟට ගියා මේ විදිහට උපදෙස් ගත්තා. It is help the counselor relate better with their client. මමත් මේ විදිහට කවුන්සලින් වලට ගිහිලා තියෙනවා. And listening. Listening is one of the most valuable counseling skill in the process. Like active listening is required. Active listening occur when you are listening with all of your senses. ඔබගේ පංචේන්ද්‍රියන් පහම යොදාගෙන ඔබ අහුම්කම් දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඇස කන නාසය දිව සම කියලා තියෙන මේ හැම දෙයකින්ම. That means fully you have to concentrate. එක ලෝකයක ඉඳලා මේ ලෝකයේ ඉන්න බෑ. You have, that's why I said, even though you received a mobile call from your husband or your loved one, you should not to answer that phone. You have to focus on this aspect because you have given very limited time for your client to discuss the issue. So therefore, please actively live in that situation. You have to active listening involves listening with your body, heart, ears, eyes and mouth. ඔබගේ ශරීරයෙන් ඔබ එතන ඉන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. ඔබගේ හදවතින්, ඔබගේ කන් දෙක, ඇස් දෙක, ඔබගේ කට නිවැරදිව පාවිච්චි කරනවා. වචනවල උච්චාරණය, ඒ වචනවල හඬ වල අඩු වැඩි බව, ඇස් දෙකෙන් ඔබ ඔබ්සර්ව් කරනවා, කන් දෙකෙන් හොඳට අහනවා, හදවතින් සිතුවිලි හරියට කියන දේ හරියට අවබෝධ කරගන්නවා. So body language, your gestures and postures also really matter. It's active listening. Then verbal listening means it's form of showing that you're listening through the words that you use. Verbal listening කියලා කියන්නේ, these verbal cues are used to direct attention to encourage more exploration from the client. This can be simple as yes or gone කියන ඉස්සරහට යන්න. අපි වචන පාවිච්චි කරනවා. දැන් ඉතින් එයා දෙයක් කියද්දි yes. You're correct. ඒ විදිහට අපි කියන්නේ අපි එයාට go එකක් දෙන්න. එයා කියන දෙයට පොඩි push එකක් දෙනවා. Yes. Go on. Carry forward. It also be paraphrasing or repeating a word of emotion that client has just said. සමහරට client කියන දෙයක් මොන හරි ඔබ ආයි paraphrase කරනවා. It's like verbal listening. Right? එයා කියපු දේ ඔබ paraphrase කරද්දී ඒ ඔබ හොඳට අහගෙන හිටිය නිසානේ ඔබට paraphrase කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබගේ you can reword, you can tell the same thing what she said in your words, like it's called paraphrasing if you listen to that story very well. It's like verbal listening. So the example for verbal listening is paraphrasing. When you try to explain client's thoughts from your words, then it's paraphrasing. It's an example for verbal listening. Okay. So non-verbal listening means like simply face person not to turn to the side. Like open postures without cross arm and legs. You should not cross your legs. And lean slightly toward the person rather than sitting back in their chair. Use eye contact instead of staring off into a deep space. So face to face is not good, but when you try to maintain eye contact, it's like L shape. You have to always keep your client beside you, and then you have to speak and relax. In non-verbal listening, you should be very relaxed. You should not cross your arms and legs. Look friendly and welcoming rather than neutral and spoiling. But you should not be neutral, but you should be very friendly and welcoming. Yes, go on. So that kind of non-verbal listening should be happen. Eye contacts, proper eye contacts. Lips swelling karna deval, so that we have to do. Communication is 50% body language, 38% tone and 7% words. Okay, වචන වලින් 7%යිලු tone එක භාවිත කරන වචන වලින් 38%ක් සහ body language එක, you are the way you are behave, your hands, your legs, your body will explain communication. Like it's a finding of the research. Communication is 50% body language, 38% tones, the loud of the voice, and 7% word. But we believe that words is 100% in communication. No, it's not. Your client may not remember what was said, but they will remember how you made them feel better. It's really hard, important. Next one is summarizing. So professional counselors use summarizing skills to condense information in response to clients' words and validate their feeling. Okay, so simply summarizing is very important. So at the end of the session, as very correctly said by the counselor in that Devika story, she summarized all the things and using her words, paraphrasing. So usefulness of summarizing means draw together the important points and makes them clear. So you have to draw a very good summary about the things what you have discussed. It's like an opening for the next session. Review the session, then describe the most important points and say what could be covered next time. Then you will tell. Actually, this is a very good, nicely explaining Devika's story. Look at the end of the first session, the counselor nicely said what they have discussed so far, and then she said what we will be discussing in the next session as well. So therefore, there's a proper connection in between then session 1 and session 2. As an example has been given for summarizing. Today, you have been talking a lot about about the responsibility you feel for all your family members staying with you. You have looked at ways for you and to let go of things that you have no control over. We have looked at choice for responding and behavior where you didn't see yourself and having a choice before. In our next counseling session, we could look at whether those new thoughts make any difference to your feeling or being or will. So likewise, actually this example is about in between a counselor and a mother, married lady. So therefore initially up to this point she summarized what they have discussed. Then after, since we don't know the story very well, we cannot understand, but anyhow up to this point she explained what they have discussed in this first session. In our next session she will be briefly tell what we are going to what we are going to discuss. So like it's an opening for the next session. So summarizing is important. So altogether, we have discussed 11 characteristics. What are they? Attending, use of silence, reflecting, paraphrasing, clarifying and use of questions, focusing, building rapport, genuineness, unconditional positive regards, counselor self-disclosure, listening, and summarizing. Okay. Okay. From this point, I'll stop part 1 of the counseling skills, and I'll be discussing another skills or other skills, and I'll be showing some videos to you. Then, apart from these 11 characteristics, you can list some more characteristics which are not being taught in the handout. So that's called learning. So showing that video will not only make a change in your in this teaching method, but anyhow there are some basic skills I'll be showing in that video. So you are responsible to write down them apart from these 11 skills. Okay, in the next session, in part 2, not in the next session, in second part of the counseling skills, I'll be showing some videos to you. Then I believe that then you can write down what you have already not learned in your handout. Okay, so up to that point, so when we look at the intended learning outcomes, so far we have discussed, we explained what is counseling, discuss the different forms of counseling. It can be individual counseling, marriage counseling, family counseling, and group counseling, and briefly explain the process of counseling with 6 steps. In that process, like opening, exploring client understanding, intervention, exploring problem, and empower to create own solution. It was there. And like discuss the core counseling skills. Like 11 counseling skills have been discussed. So first 4 objectives have been met. So therefore, we'll be discussing the next, the remaining objective will be achieved in the next part of this lesson. Okay, so thank you very much for being with me in that means counseling skills part 1, and I'll meet you from part 2.